Hi guys, quick update here for YouTube. It's Wednesday, 8th of February 2023, Bitcoin technical analysis. So let's start off with the US dollar. Obviously, we do feel more longer term, probably going to be a new monetary system here before the end of the decade. I'm looking at this to go all the way towards 60. So we made that call about 5 years ago, that eventually the dollar is going to have its sort of, collapse moment. And as absolute midline, absolute minimum, it's going to go to the midline, do a bit of this, and then go something like this. It looks way too similar to the fractal from here to here. So longer term, dollar's going much lower. I do expect all-time lows in the dollar before the end of the decade, and then that's it. Time to call it a day on the reserve currency, and therefore all fiat currency likely will move on to a new digital system after that. Short term, it's obviously formed a shakeout pattern underneath these lows. You could definitely read all of this as a one, and so anything that the dollar's doing here is purely counter trend. Okay, this is all counter trend. Now this might not be over. Seems very small for a 2, unless of course it's a 1 2 3 4 5, then it makes a larger 2. But ultimately dollar is very weak. Anything into this kind of region, 107 109, is simply a counter trend move. If it gets as high as this right now, it's not looking the best, is it? That obviously forms a head and shoulder. I don't think this high will ever get reached again. Longer term, dollar's going much lower. Now, does that mean Bitcoin's going to go to the moon? I wouldn't say so. If you just quickly finish off here, let's get it on the monthly chart here, because these FX move obviously they take place over decades basically. So you can see here there was a time when both dollar and the S&P went down at the same time. Okay. S&P being a marker of liquidity here generally. Okay, obviously Bitcoin was not around in 2002. So just because my forecast here is dollar to fall for the rest of this decade doesn't mean Bitcoin's going to go to 100k anytime soon. You can get a situation where it's complete risk off, and I am expecting that later on this year. Okay, now let's go on to Bitcoin. So best case scenario, 36k forms a larger X wave. Ethereum would have you believe that it's all part of a larger WXY, where this is an ABC into here. Followed by an X, followed by a Y. Okay, so this is basically a 335 flat. So the most important area, clearly, the only way we're going to get to 36k is obviously after getting through this phase here. There's a lot going on here. Okay, so Bitcoin would have to prove to me it can get above here and hold, and only then can we go to these higher targets, retest the neckline from the head and shoulders that we broke down from, which interestingly went straight to its target. So this is the key moment here, this 25k to 27k. Now, going off the on-chain or whatever this website talks about, complete nonsense most of the time. I mean, it's significant that the 200 week is now acting as resistance. So anyone who's doubting anything other than we are still in a bear market probably is not worth really listening to here. It would be good to get above this for a short period of time, bring or add to the euphoric state that we're slowly building up here. Fear and greed, I don't really get a sense of euphoria here at 56. I'm expecting that to go well above 60 and 70, and obviously on this where is it now? Here it is. We're still in the hopeful phase here. So I'm not expecting a crash in Bitcoin anytime soon just yet. We're halfway through February here. If not, well, we're not even halfway. We're about a week into Feb here. So I'm not expecting this to suddenly reverse. It doesn't really seem right in terms of the sentiment. And if we're saying all of that is a 335 flat, well, then we're currently dealing with a wave 4. So I don't think you can call a big crash from right here. That just seems unlikely, especially if the dollar is not looking the best. As an absolute minimum, we'd have to run this high here, enter this zone, and then we're talking, because technically that does fit a 5-wave sequence. As we have established many times, 5 waves can only ever be starting something or ending something. The question is that ending something? Is it a 335 flat? Well, Ethereum would have you believe it's definitely a 335 flat, okay? Because Ethereum I mean, just yesterday I've seen a count, 1-2-1-2-1-2. So anyone who's following a 1-2 count, the less said about that, the better, really. This is very clearly an ABC. That's very clearly the count to me. So Ethereum would have you believe that we are doing an ABC flat, and the highest we're going to go is about 27k, maybe 30k at a push. Now, this obviously could also form a triangle. Okay, this X wave can get a little bit funky here. I'm expecting 2k Ethereum because it makes a good headline. Doesn't necessarily have to go that way, right? Could easily be a truncation, or it could go into an A, B, C, D, E sort of thing, then come back down. Either way, when this cause is complete, a big move is likely to occur. I think that move is going to be down, okay? So it could be a triangle, could be an ABC, okay? As an absolute minimum, you would expect the C wave to be at least 0.618 off the A wave, right? 0.618 is at 1796. So it's very hard to just call a crash here. Even if it does crash from here, which I don't think it will then go into a triangle and then do this, right? Because obviously a triangle would be something like this. So I'm not forecasting a triangle. Bitcoin and Ethereum, they don't really make triangles. They make these weird ABC truncation 1-2 patterns. So 1796 as a minimum. Ideally, we see 2k though. Ideally, we get above 2k. That will make a good headline. That will definitely take the euphoria level to something similar to what it was up here. Everyone will think that the bull market is back because everyone seems to have this count. It's quite worrying, really. Where does this count come out from? How can Ethereum see 5k before it sees sub 1k? Again, I mean, that doesn't really make any sense. But, 2k makes a lot of headlines, though. And it makes a lot of sense because this would convince a lot of people the bull market is back. And then basically I'm forecasting, another one of these, basically, right? Another ABC. You can also read that as an ABC. It doesn't really matter. No one cares about the W or the A or the B or the X. That's just a waste of time. We haven't built the masterclass to argue about letters, okay? You don't want to be too perfect in this game. Everything occurs in 3s and 5s. The point being, this appears to be a cause, very, very big cause that's setting up. Likely the move will go down, but shorter term it needs to go higher, okay? So what I'm trying to say is Ethereum still, I'm looking at a little bit higher. I can't really call a top. BNB is the same, by the way. I'm looking at the 400. Makes a good headline. As you can see, we got alerts all over the place here. Because this, once again, it doesn't matter if it's an A. A would be 5 down. W would be a double zigzag. It doesn't really matter. X, Y. Everything's forming an X wave. That's why it's so sneaky. That's the A. WXY into a B. Now we're doing a 5 waves into a C. So it's a 3-3-5 basically. So 400 on Binance makes a good headline. 2k Ethereum makes a good headline. Then we're going to collapse. Okay, so this is why you have to be watching multiple things. You can't just be bearish all day long like Al Pacino. You're not going to get anywhere like that. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being longer term bearish. No one's more bearish than I am. Okay, the only thing I'm doubting is whether we see 3k or not. I'm not even doubting that we're going to see sub 10k. That's a guarantee. It's whether we go to 3k. But we will cross that bridge if and when we get there. Right now, we're dealing with this. So this is, anyone who's missed this move, like we've been long various coins, which I'm not going to mention here. I've done a few videos on them. Those who have clocked on to what I've been saying, they're up 5-10x from their lows, or even from halfway up their trend. And now a lot of people have FOMO'd in yesterday because of Microsoft and everything else and Google and what they're doing. Let's not give away too much here. You'll have to join the group with that. And obviously it's a profit-taking event. So a lot of people have got trapped yesterday. And now those coins which are doing really well are now pulling back. You'll have to join the group if you want to know more. Anyway, I lost my train of thought there. So basically, yes, it's no good being bearish all day long. This is very clearly an uptrend. Now, what would be the alternate count, which I don't think is going on, is that is part of a larger one, okay? Now, I refuse to believe this is going on. But if it is going on, great. It'll go 25k, it'll pull back, everyone's got a wave 2 entry, and then there's your stop. Then we're definitely going to go 100k. I would give this a 0% probability. So I'm not even entertaining the bullish count here. I'm not even going to go there, okay? I'm still very much larger macro bearish. And then how do we get to 36k? Well, that could be part of a larger double zigzag pattern, okay? Technically, like it was here. That was effectively 2 zigzags to make an X. So A, B, C to make a larger X, okay? So it's actually very simple. A lot of people confuse Elliott wave because they get mixed up in the A's and the W's and the X's and the B's. They're not all that relevant. It's just 3s and 5s joined together. So to summarize then, it would be odd for Bitcoin suddenly to collapse here. It looks as though it's forming a wave 4. It has at least one more push up. We have to run 25k to 27k. What happens in this region is most important. If when it gets here, like I said before on my last video, looks as though it's going to top out here before the end of Q1. You know, that's still 7 weeks away. It could easily get into that blue box by the end of Q1, easily. If Binance coin is at 400 then, if Ethereum's at 2 grand, then I'm going to be getting very concerned, especially if I see some heavy volume coming in and basically failure patterns. It gets into here, forms shooting star, climactic candles here, shakeout patterns, it retests some of this support level here. Anything that's bearish, then it does something like this. Retest from underneath, you know you have an issue. And you've got quite a big issue there because the move is basically another one of these. Either 5 or 3 or a double zigzag, doesn't matter. Once again, we don't care if it's 5 or 3. It's another move down, and that basically gets you to where I think we're going to go, which is sub 10k. So very important time here. Anyone who's been too bearish, they've missed the entire move. But we have to be cautious here, but understand the trend currently is still up. Now, that's that done. Let's quickly cover the S&P, which obviously is correlated to all of this. So you're better off pulling up the S&P first and then comparing Bitcoin, which, as we all know, is a marker of liquidity. It always leads the S&P both up and down. So it's been very difficult to call any 1-2-1-2. We're going to go 6-6-6 tomorrow on the S&P. I do not believe this is impulsive though. It's just a more complex pattern. I don't believe this is going on. I don't believe this current uptrend in the S&P can get us to 5,000. So what is the count? Well, I think there's a potential we test the 3-month high, which is would be very normal. Seems as though it wants to run these stops above here, right? So you can't really see that anywhere else other than on the 3-month chart. It looks as though we want to basically get up there. So you could say all of this is the A. That could be the A, WXY into a nice little combo pattern, or this is the A, and this is basically counter leg, right? Once again, I don't really think it matters that much. You don't want to argue, you don't want to complicate things too much here. So this is either correcting all of this, or it's still part of a complex correction, and the A is here. And if you take your 1-to-1 correlation with this, there's your 1-to-1, there's your 1.236, which also is the algo target. And if you line up with this fib here, you can see we're building up some confluence here, 78.6 and another 4421 up there. That is the 1-to-1 of this wave relative to this wave. And then if you take the algo target, that's at 428, okay? So there's a lot going on up here between, I would say, as low as 42, 43 where I think we're going to go, and around 44. That would be the logical target. Once again, we think this is going to happen all before the end of Q1. And then, potentially, there's a very big sell-off coming. Okay? So, once again, there's a lot of money on the sidelines here. There's plenty of money which has missed the entire move since the start of the year. How do you get them back in to the market? How do you get them trapped? you have to break psychological levels. You have to continue the uptrend to make them FOMO back in. I don't get a sense of short-term euphoria in the S&P. I don't think it's over just yet. 4,300, I'll be getting very concerned. If we run 43.25 here, and once again, just like Bitcoin, have any kind of failure up here, maybe even take out this stop above 40. I mean, 45 seems a bit of a push, to be honest, but something like that. Once again, it sets up a very, very big move down. A lot of people I've seen the doomsday merchants here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I clocked on about 9 months ago. It's not a deflationary crash, and that's quite clear. So here, getting too bearish, you're going to end up missing all the moves. The S&P does not represent equities. Meta's up 100%, Tesla too, Coinbase, we caught the exact low. Weekly call options, 20,000% since the lows. Probably do a bit of a pullback here, Coinbase. You'll have to join the group to know where that's going to go. So, getting to deflationary 2008, where everything went down, is probably a bad idea. It's very clear to me that we're going to be here for 10 years, for the rest of this decade, probably here. So there's over 24 combinations of Elliott wave. Someone needs to... Well, it would be impossible for anyone to tell me the exact sequence we're going to do here until 2030, which is here. We're going to basically fill out this entire blue box over the next 10 years. But during that time, making all of these crappy little corrective waves up and down, we're going to do something like that. Well, let me draw that a little bit better there. Something like that, then a little ABC, then a little crash low, then something like this, then a little ABC into here. So you get the point. It's clear, it's inflationary. So in an inflationary market, very clear to me 9 months ago, this is not a normal crash. It's not the end of, well, it is the end of a super cycle, but it's a sideways super cycle and not a price decline. Whilst it might inevitably end up with a price decline, probably not as much as some people are forecasting, 99%, I don't think that's possible now, but it's more of a time. This is a bear market of time. It's, testing people's time and patience. So index funds are not where you want to be. They're up 45% since my first YouTube video 5.5 years ago. That's not how you invest. Coinbase has done 45% in the last 10 trading days, if not less. So it's about finding value, and that's what we do in the group. We find value and opportunity, and we call all the lows, because for those who are looking in the right sectors at the right time, there's opportunity there to be made. But you have to be as quick as a cat, because once the dealers have stopped hedging their stock and their positions, the entire move will get reversed. Okay, so there's a lot of gamma squeezes going on, short squeezes, and you have to be really on top of things. This is not a passive environment. No one passive is making money here. You have to really be on top of things. But moves tend to go a little bit more extreme now, yeah, both up and down. And the job in a bear market is to recognize greed early, as opposed to being in a bull market the last 13 years when all the monopoly money has been flowing, where you recognize fear. Well, you buy the fear, right? So it's the exact opposite. In a bull market, you buy the fear, buy the dip. This is slightly different. Yes, you can buy the dip, but it's more about recognizing the greed and the euphoria early. Okay, and that's gonna, basically how you get out of it. And you want to keep your position sizes low, much lower than anyone's ever traded here, because the volatility is up 2 to 3 to 4 times. So why would you have the same position size? You're making the same amount of move in a quarter of the time. So you should half your position here. And that's where people are going wrong. A lot of people who think this is going to happen from here, that's just impossible. It's not even, mathematical possible for that to happen from here. As an absolute minimum, this should go sideways for at least another year, because it's been going up for 13 years. But because it's more super cycle, we'll be here for 10 years. So anyway, that's my rant over there. Not too sure how many people are still listening right now, but let's just keep it back onto Bitcoin then. Quickly, Nasdaq Qs. Forget about the Qs. I think we can hold off the Qs. So let's take it back here then. What else can we cover today without giving away too much? I can't open up the watch list. I think that's it. I mean, we can finish off with the euro. the new world reserve currency here, XRP and the euro. I mean, this is going to go to 150. This will, I mean, we've been so focused on the pound here. This is not messing around. This could easily go to 150. Dollar's definitely going to collapse here. There's no doubt about that. Short term, that does look like 5 waves, but look at that. There's just no selling pressure here. At most, I mean, you'll never see parity again. No one holding US dollars will ever get that exchange rate ever again. You missed your chance, but you might get a 105 if you're lucky here. That looks like a 1, maybe it's an ABC, but the euro, I mean, look at that. Inverted head and shoulders here. This is going to go much, much higher. Anyone holding euros, good time to be joining the group soon. Whilst I still charge in USD, because at some point I'm going to have to start charging in euros here. Okay, good. That's the euro done. Let's not give away too much. But yeah, euro looks very good for the entirety of this decade. I can't imagine dollar outperforming euro anytime soon. So you want to be holding domestic euro companies, basically. So once again, you got to find value. It's a value market, and then that's where the money is to be made there. Okay, good. So let's finish off. So 5 waves are either starting something or ending something. It's not impulsive. Either it's an A for double zigzag or it's a WXY. We're going to go to here, then likely we're going to move down. But currently, my feeling is not to get too bearish still. This is not a sell-off to me. There's no patterns here that are worrying. The volume is relatively okay. It's not very high. It's not bearish volume. It's still basically a bull flag still, just like it was here. So bull flag up, still a larger bull flag. Everything comes down to this level. If there was any level you're watching right now, it's 400 Binance, 2 grand Ethereum, and 25k, 27k Bitcoin, because a lot of fireworks could ensue at those levels, and I suppose you could add 4,300 on the S&P. Looks as though we want to get there. Question is, when do we top? Well, not right now anyway, but tricky little market this. You want to be watching it carefully. You can join the group and take some educational classes whilst you're at it. I'll leave that to you guys to decide. I'll catch you guys soon.